Hi Tamal, hi Navin. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tamal, let's start with you because your column this week explained tokenization very well. Can you explain for our audience what is tokenization in simple terms?
And this tokenization is, I would say, it's sort of want to make it a leak-proof transaction. Now, how does it happen? Who are the parties involved? So primarily, Ishan, you are the cardholder. Your bank, which issues the card, whatever bank it is, and the payment gateways like, say, Visa, Master, RuPay, Diners, Amex. These are the primary. And there are two more entities, which are the payments aggregators and the marketplace, the shop where you are buying. Now, the problem is probably lies with that because they are a bit porous. Now, the data could be leaked from these sources. And this tokenization, what does it mean? We want to make it leak proof in the sense, well, banks need to have your details, you need to have your details, and the Visa masters, they should have your details, but not necessarily the merchants and the aggregators, payment aggregator. So tokenization means next time Ishan is getting into it, Ishan is getting an option, whether you want to continue to key in all your information again and again, because anyway, under the RBI norm, now they cannot store, or you replace it with token. So that's it.
Navin, Tamal made a very complicated concept very simple, but it still stands complicated. My question is, should the RBI have given more time to players for tokenization? We saw what happened with auto debit rules last year.
So I think you can't do better than Tamal in this. I mean, he always makes things so simple. But on the time part, Isan, I think any time that you give will always be less. Let's not forget that this has been in talks for over 3 years now already. And this was part of the RBI vision document also. And it reminds me the journey that the industry took again when the first time OTP concept on the card was introduced, which again, India was one of the few countries other than a couple of European countries who would implement it, that you need to have one more additional factor of authentication, which became eventually a standard OTP on your phone. And the delays and the complexities and a confusion you see because probably resistance to new change, right, across the stakeholders. Mm-hmm. And probably this is the innovation. While the fintechs and the payment companies are known to do innovations, but RBI is also known to do innovations, especially on a security side. So it was started with OTP. This is now tokenization. This is next level and next level need for this industry. On the whole, I would say, I think there was sufficient time given. All stakeholders were consulted. Continuously, RBI had been extending on their requests. I think finally it's time we've implemented. And so far, I think it's been going fine. This is what the feedback that I've heard from all the stakeholders. There are always ways to improve things and grow it even faster. But I think it's a good start. And again, another yet innovation where RBI will be hopefully proven again right. They did it the right time in the best way.
Tamal, let me take the part from transaction failures of what Navin talked about. Now, you highlight in your column that 350 million tokens have been issued, 40% of all online transactions were tokenized. That's a long way off from covering everyone. Can we expect transaction failures to rise? One. Two, has the RBI been a bit fast in this move or not?
No, absolutely not. I think enough rope was given to the entities involved in it, particularly the very small merchants. They feel that their business will be affected because you and me, we don't want to go through this kind of hassles, etc., etc. But I don't see any reason. I don't know the cost involved on the part of them, but the cost involved for you and me, there is no cost, and we have the choice. So it's safe, definitely. And it's again, Ishan, up to you whether you want to use it or you want to continue with the old system. But the merchants no longer can keep your data. That's for sure. And enough time is good.
Now, Tamal talks about the cost for customers not to be there. What about the cost for banks, Navin? How much of an overhead cost do banks can expect because of tokenization?
So I would not just restrict it to banks. I think there are multiple stakeholders, right? There are networks who are actually designing the solutions and providing. So for them, it anyway is a revenue. Banks who are the issuing side, banks who are on the acquiring side, and the aggregators and the merchants. Yeah, there will be some sort of a cost element, but if you really implement it in a right way, the idea of a benefits, which comes in a way of chargebacks, frauds, other issues, and the overall experience, it would overweigh. And RBI has always been extremely cautious. They always monitor everything. And you've seen already that in some cases, actually, we see that there is actually no cost. It's zero. So I don't think cost has been one of the bigger issues. In a temporary time, I think the indirect cost of implementing in terms of education, system changes, processes, yes, there is one-time cost. That probably is the concern. So yes, there is definitely a cost in terms of efforts to get everybody onboarded. Yes, there are additional costs for transactions that are under continuous evolution and a discussion. I think that would continue under negotiations, discussions. Eventually, I think in a year to 2 years' time, on the whole, it won't be very high. At some stage, I think we'll all have to figure out that how does this whole OTP businesses go away, because that also is very costly by doing tokenization as it gets stabilized. And then probably the benefit may outweigh the costs. So that probably could be the next stage once this gets settled and let's say implemented at least at a 60-70% level.
Now, Navin, one more point that springs to mind is the usage of card apps, which is very limited till now. Is that going to change with tokenization, and will that make the process more cumbersome for the user? Because, and is there going to be another common token requester app which will allow for changes to limits and allows the user to withdraw consent?
So I think we have not seen that evolution yet, and I think that those are waiting to happen. I mean, the way you see Apple Pay in US, right? Or you see Samsung Pay in rest of the Asian countries.
Yes.
In India, is still yet to catch up. And you're right, the tokenization will help in a big way. But again, please understand that those two have one big limitation, which is beyond this is tokenization rule, which is the access to the OS. So those are different issues which are even beyond RBI currently and at the government level, and probably Ministry of IT discussion that needs to take place. That if similar situations has to come, some of these handset manufacturers to also allow them or a third parties or even competing parties for that access. And a similar issue exists with even other hardware manufacturers. I mean, we know all the names. So those are different challenges, but obviously you will see a lot more innovation with this.
How would RBI ensure compliance? Do you think there's a need for a separate regulator to check compliance with digital rules across networks? Because now the system is really growing.
Well, I mean, there are certain corners we are hearing this, but I think Reserve Bank of India has been gearing itself, it has changed itself. Now it's the way digitization is happening in India, it's something unprecedented. And we are in the at the forefront. I mean, IMF has recognized it, so everywhere. And and Reserve Bank of India also changing itself. It is now a series of sandboxes doing it. It has created an innovation hub, which is a tech hub within the Reserve Bank of India. So a lot of experiments are happening, and tokenization is only one part of it. It's also going for central bank digital currency or e-rupee. So Reserve Bank of India is changing itself. Now, whether it is exactly qualified to oversee the digitization, or we need to wait and watch. But for the time being, I would not think that we need a separate regulator.
Naveen, the new thinking, old regulator part would work, or do you need a new thinking, new regulator?
I think it's for RBI, that's not true, because I mean, like we said, that they all themselves innovate and they also always constantly, I mean, you see CBDC, they're fairly advanced. So there's a constant new thinking. That's not the challenge with RBI. I think what you meant even in your earlier question was that at the national level, you need some cohesive security or a digital policy, because like I said, some issues are even beyond RBI. For an example, if you have to implement a financial security for all the stakeholders, it cannot be done by regulating the, let's say, tech and a fintechs and a license holders within the financial system. It also goes well into the hardware that you use. So unless you have the similar rule enforced end to end, you cannot achieve security. Now, again, those are the areas where probably a cohesiveness is required so that we understand these issues end to end. For issues like tokenization, I don't even think that this is very clear.
Last question to the both of you. What scope do you see for much hyped digital banking units? The Prime Minister launched 75 of them yesterday, earlier this week. So what scope do you see for them, Tamal?
No, we have been doing it. So it's a pretty symbolic, the government effort. It was a part of the budget announcement, if I'm not mistaken. As I said, India is at the forefront of the world when digitalization comes. So digitalization, why should it be confined to only metros? I mean, the hinterland also should get the benefit, and it's already happening. So I think it's a right move. It's a symbolic gesture, I would say.
So as Tamal said, I think government and RBI both have been continuously working in increasing access of payments as well as banking to larger masses. But at the same time, we still know there are challenges in hilly areas. There are challenges in some rural areas. There are challenges in, again, certain geographies about education literacy, which is exactly the question you were earlier asking. So I think they have been doing pilots and experiments around it. Like Tamal said, that today, if you really have to go and set up a branch for a 50-house village, right, which is important enough, right? They need to have access to financial services. But to take an office, get a person there, maybe your transactions are going to be very low. How do you kind of counter that? Today, technology allows you to create these digital units.
That's about it. Thank you. Thank you both for coming on the show. We hope to see you again. Thank you.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
I am the blue of the limitless sky. I am the inspiration that led success soar high. I will achieve, I will fly high. I am the I in SBI.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.